After my husband died, my mother-in-law showed up at my house with a moving truck and an eviction notice for me and my children, but she didn't know about the surprise my husband left her. When Brian died 8 months ago from a heart attack at 38, I thought losing him would be the hardest thing I'd ever face. Then his mother Dorothy arrived at the funeral and asked when I'd be moving out. I had 3 kids under 10. We were all sobbing at his graveside, and she wanted to discuss real estate. I told her we weren't going anywhere. This was our home. She laughed and said we'd see about that since the house was obviously hers now. Brian and I bought our house 5 years ago. Dorothy had given us $15,000 toward the down payment, which she reminded us about every single holiday, birthday, and random Tuesday. According to her, this made her a co-owner. According to the actual deed and mortgage documents, it made her nothing. But Dorothy lived in her own reality where she was always right and everyone else was too stupid to understand. For months after Brian died, she'd show up unannounced. She'd walk through the house making notes in a little notebook, measuring rooms, taking photos. She told my kids to be careful with Grandma's walls when they were coloring at the kitchen table. She informed me that when she moved in, the children would need to share one room so she could have a craft space and an exercise room. I kept telling her this was our house. Brian left it to us. She had no claim to it. She'd pat my hand and say grief makes people confused. Last Tuesday, she called to tell me she'd been very patient, but her patience had run out. She was giving me 30 days to vacate her property. I laughed and hung up. Yesterday morning, 9 a.m., I heard a diesel engine outside. Dorothy was standing in my driveway next to a massive moving truck, holding papers and grinning. Behind her were 6 men in matching t-shirts that said, "Dorothy's Moving Crew," which turned out to be guys from her church she'd convinced to help. She marched up to my door waving the papers. Official eviction notice. You have 1 hour to gather essentials. The boys will help you carry them to your car. I looked at her printed eviction notice. It was a template from LegalZoom with my name spelled wrong and the property address missing a digit. Dorothy, this isn't legal. You can't evict me from my own house. She pushed past me into the foyer. Possession is 9/10 of the law, dear. Boys, start with the living room. The churchmen looked uncomfortable but started coming inside. That's when my neighbor Jerome walked over. Jerome was a retired property lawyer whom Brian used to help with yard work. Everything okay here, Linda? Dorothy spun around. This doesn't concern you. This is a family matter. Jerome looked at the moving truck, the churchmen now frozen in my doorway, and Dorothy's fake eviction notice. Actually, it does concern me. He pulled out his phone and showed Dorothy a document. Brian asked me to be the executor of his estate. Very thorough young man. Set up everything properly. Dorothy's smile flickered. What does that have to do with anything? Jerome scrolled through his phone. Well, for starters, he documented every penny you claim to have given them. Interesting thing though, he also documented the $58,000 he and Linda loaned you over the years. For your gambling debts, your 3 failed businesses, that timeshare scam you fell for. Dorothy's face went red. Those were gifts. Jerome kept scrolling. Not according to these signed loan agreements. With interest, you currently owe Linda about $73,000. Brian was too nice to collect. But as executor, I have a fiduciary duty to recover estate assets. The churchmen had started backing toward the truck. Dorothy grabbed one of their arms. Don't you dare leave. I promised you lunch. Jerome wasn't done. There's also the matter of fraud. See, Brian installed security cameras 3 years ago after you kept visiting when they weren't home. We have footage of you telling people at your book club that you owned this house. You even rented out their garage to someone for boat storage and kept the money. That's fraud and conversion. One of the churchmen spoke up. Dorothy, you said this was your house and your daughter-in-law was squatting. Dorothy was spluttering now. Brian wouldn't. Jerome pulled out one more document. He said, "This is my favorite part. Full story on channel. Link below."